Before we get into this video, I just want to say if you haven't gone to Instagram and followed me there at JoshuaRobert19, then what are you doing? Because that is where I post updates on the 24 valve Cummins, parts that I get in before the channel gets to see it, and stuff like that that you won't want to miss if you want to be the first to know what is going on. Go over there, give me a follow, and also don't forget to check out my dudes Everything Diesel, Chad Meyer 73, and Diesel Syndicate. They've all got some nice Cummins trucks that you probably want to check out as well, so go over to their channels, give them some love, check them out, see what they got going on. You can see I've been doing something under the hood here. Enjoy this video. We are gonna start getting these bolts all soaked up with some penetrating oil so that hopefully we can get this HY35 busted free with no issues and try to get it out of here. Alright guys, here you have it. We still have the HY35 turbo in the 24 valve, but what I did was I went and broke everything loose. So I got these bolts here at the exhaust elbow busted loose. I got the two nuts here on these upper studs busted loose, and the two nuts on the lower studs busted loose. Now on this one here, this lower nut that's down in there, I was able to get on that with a socket, a 3-inch extension, and a breaker bar. But due to how the wastegate is positioned on this HY35, you can't get a socket on the other one over here. So I did have to weasel a wrench down in there and break it free with a wrench, but it is doable. You can get to it. And to be honest, all this stuff broke free far easier than I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be problematic, but it took me about 35 minutes to get all this stuff broken free. So to pull this whole thing out probably would have been if I didn't struggle with this one bolt right here, that's the only one that gave me any crap. If I didn't struggle with that one to get that busted free without breaking it off in there, I probably honestly could have had this whole turbo out of here in about 30 minutes tops. The only reason I am not pulling it out completely tonight and putting the HX35 under the hood of this Cummins truck is because I want to make sure that I'm not scrambling for time just in case I run into any issue after getting the HX35 mounted on here. If I have any type of problem, I want to make sure that I have sufficient time to troubleshoot it, figure it out, and correct it. So what I think I'm going to do is probably just go ahead and install the HX35 first thing on Saturday, and that actually will give me time for my new oil feed fitting right here. This old fitting here, I could reuse it and put a new O-ring on it, but what I did was ordered a new one, so I'm waiting for that. I overnighted it, so I'll be able to get that in the mail and then put the new oil feed fitting on the HX35. And I'm also going to go and get new bolts to hold this exhaust elbow, the backing plate, onto the back of the exhaust housing for the HX35. I don't want to reuse the old bolts that I took out because they're not in horrible shape, but I went the distance to clean that turbo up, so I want to have new hardware in there and get some new bolts for that. The tools you are going to need to break loose the HY35 turbo on your truck are going to be a 9/16 socket for these two upper nuts on the upper studs here that hold it to the manifold. You will need a 15mm socket and a 15mm wrench. that 15mm socket is for this bolt here on the lower stud of the manifold, and then the wrench is for the other nut back here on this side that you have to use because of the wastegate actuator lever. And then you need a 1/2-inch socket to break these two bolts here loose that hold your downpipe right up here to the exhaust elbow. So those are 1/2-inch, and with you guys will probably struggle the most with these ones. These will probably put up the biggest fight. These honestly broke free with no effort applied at all. I did have to apply a little force to get this one here out, but that was it. But we do have everything all broken free. What I'm gonna do is just tighten it all back down and not over tighten it, just get it tightened down so that there's no leaks. And then we know that the hard part is over with, because a lot of the fight is just trying to get this rusty and crusty, all this stuff that's just been heating up and just turning into this mess right here. That's the biggest fight, is to get all that broken free. But now that we spent that 35 minutes busting all that free, I can go ahead, tighten it back down enough to where we don't have any exhaust leaks, and it should only take me a good 10 minutes to go back through, pop it all free, and then we'll be dropping this HY35 out of here in no time, and then slapping the HX35 right in here in its place, and we should be in business then. Look at all that crud on this lower part of the compressor housing of this HY35 though. I honestly think that that is coming from the oil drain right here. I think that the oil drain gasket is just gone. I think that it went bad. I can see part of it right here. I can feel it. But I think the front side of the gasket is what is allowing this oil to leak out right here. And I think that it's just coming down and making a mess all up in here. It could be, it probably is also in part because this HY35 needs a good rebuild on it, but I think majority of that is coming from the oil drain itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten those things right back down so that we don't have any exhaust leaks. We can get out to work tomorrow and be good, and we will go ahead and first thing Saturday morning, we will get that HX35 all strapped up under the hood of the 24 valve Cummins, and we'll be in business to take her for a test drive, see how she goes and how she drives with that new turbo underneath the hood, how the HX35 responds to the 125 horsepower injectors, and start comparing the HX35 to the HY35 and see how much of a difference we can feel with the HX35 on the truck. That's another thing. If I were to slap the HX35 in here right now, by the time I was done getting it all bolted up and fighting it, wrestling it on my own, the turbos are pretty hefty. They got a little bit of weight to them. So by the time I got done wrestling that thing in there and getting it all strapped down, getting everything tightened down and bolted up, I wouldn't have much time to really go for a test drive with daylight to see how it was gonna act. So I would rather just go ahead and get it done first thing Saturday, like I said. That way we can take it out for a test drive right after. We can see how it is. If we have any trouble, we can troubleshoot it and figure things out. Go ahead and make sure we have enough time to really do things right if we run into any snags along the way. So I'm gonna get this stuff tightened back down real quick and get the big honking air filter back in, and I will see you guys in a second. Just like that, you'd never be able to tell I was underneath there breaking any of that stuff free, but we are in good shape, boys. We're gonna have that HX35 in here real soon, and I am pumped up. If you're pumped, hit that like button right now, because I tell you what, I cannot flip and wait to get that turbo in here. Plus, it's just gonna look good. Compared to that crusty looking thing, this HX35 is gonna look mint, especially compared to the rest of this engine bay. Man, I gotta do some serious overhauling and cleaning, maybe do some painting. I gotta clean this mess up. It looks like an old truck. One thing I want to show you is the EGT probe, because I did have to pull that out of the exhaust manifold so that I could get to those two upper studs and get the nuts off of those. It's actually in pretty decent shape. There's a little bit of soot on there, obviously, but not like I thought there would be. So this thing actually looks like it's holding up pretty well and in good shape. So we're gonna go ahead and stick that right back in its home for now. Just like that, we'll go ahead and tighten this down. That, by the way, is a 9/16 wrench to pop this sucker free. You don't want to tighten these things down that much. Just snug it right down and let it be. Don't over torque those. Here's those old bolts right here that hold the backing plate, the exhaust elbow, to the back of the HX35 turbo. They're not in horrible shape, but they're definitely, I don't know, they've seen better days. I feel like if I've already come this far and done the work that I've done on the HX35, then I might as well pick up 5 new bolts. So I need to go to Lowe's, match up the thread pitch here and see about getting some new ones. So they're like 1-inch bolts, but I need to find out what the thread pitch is so that we can pick up 5 of them, and then we will be able to attach this elbow right here to the back of the exhaust housing, get our new gasket in place, and this thing will be absolutely 100% ready to go. I did put the new clip right here on the clevis on this little stud, so our wastegate actuator arm is in place. We do have the lock washers and nuts on the back of the wastegate actuator here, so it's all mounted up, ready to go. And while I'm at Lowe's tomorrow, I can get a small hose clamp for this boost line right here. That's it though, just wanted to get this I guess prepped and ready to get the new turbo installed on there and see how much of a pain in the butt it was going to be to break that stuff free. It really wasn't that bad, and I probably could have got it all done tonight, put the HX35 underneath the hood here, but I figured, like I said, I'd rather have some extra time left over after I get it installed so we can take it for a test drive, see if there's anything wrong with it, if we need to do anything else, and then go from there. Even though I think that we will be in good shape and I probably would have been fine if I installed it tonight, I feel like it was wisest to just hold off until Saturday. It'll give me time to get that new oil feed fitting and not have to use the one off the HY35 and worry about leaks, even though I would put a new O-ring on it, and also give me time to get these new bolts for that exhaust elbow. And that is all. I'm gonna get out of here, shut the hood, pick up my stuff. Hopefully while you are hitting that like button on your way out, if you're stopping into the channel for the first time, checking things out, hit that subscribe button, join the family, and I will see you guys in the next video tomorrow with something new. Peace! I just wanna